This part of the tutorial will introduce strings in Android. So what we're going to do is we're going to declare and initialize a few strings, and we are going to print those strings out, and we'll end with combining a few strings into one long string in a process called concatenation. Now we're going to take a look at our final variable type in Android, which will be the string. So as we've seen before in iOS, strings are represented with the string type, and let's just call this one string1, and let's just give it a value. In fact, keeping in line with the company name, let's call this Mammoth Interactive. Cool. So again, any string variable can contain any kind of character within these quotations, so I can add in symbols if I want. I can add in numbers, and the space itself is a character that I can add in and be a part of the string. Let's just change that to a 1. Cool. Let's add some exclamation marks. So this is all well and good. This is fine to be a string. We can put anything within these quotation marks. Again, that's what makes them great for messages, because we can print out anything. We can have names that the code otherwise wouldn't be able to recognize, because anything outside of these quotations is seen as a variable or a type. So let's wrap that again in those quotations, and here we have a string. So if we want to print it out, we'll just do this, and we will say this is Mammoth, and we'll say toString, not trim, we want toString. Okay, and let's go ahead and run our simulator, and it's just going to print out the value of Mammoth, and in fact we get Mammoth Interactive there. And the best part about this is that it's actually already a string, so we don't even need this toString. And we'd get exactly the same thing. And in fact it says remove redundant .toString, because we no longer need it. There we go. So we saw that we can add strings together. So we can just have a string, and in fact let's create one now. Let's just have a string, we'll call this result, and it can contain some arbitrary values, let's say hello, and we can add a bunch of these strings together if we want. If we change this back to normal, because we now want to get serious, that's a 0 still. Let's change it to an O and an I and only one exclamation mark. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to print out a fun message. So we're going to say hello plus, and then we're going to say welcome to, and then Mammoth. So this is another cool feature we can do. We can assign strings to variables, such as we have the string Mammoth Interactive and we're assigning it to the variable Mammoth, and we can also add, we can also add just strings that haven't been assigned to variables to that also. So why don't we go ahead and print out result and see what happens. So we'll run it again with Nexus S. And just wait for that to load, and we get hello, welcome to Mammoth Interactive. So this is pretty cool that we can just add strings together like this. There isn't a concatenate function. That's what we call this. When we're adding strings together to combine them, it's called concatenation, if you want the fun computer science term. Alright, so this is strings. Again, very useful for displaying and storing messages or text, and for example, like this text here, text of this text box, that's in a string. Most of the messages you'll print out will be in strings. So great way to store messages and other kinds of text. So in this part of our video, we introduced the last variable type, which was a string in Android. So we did that by creating some strings that were either just letters or a mix of characters, letters, and numbers to show that you can put pretty much anything you want between the quotations. And we even combined a few of them into one long string. So by now you should be able to create and combine strings and give examples of where we would use them in the code with some real life applications.